Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about all the books that I read in June. This was a pretty good reading month for me. I had 5 or 6 5-star reads and then one DNF, and then everything else was probably a 4 or a 3-star. First books that I started reading this month are like YA and middle grade. I was trying to read books from my childhood and I read 2 and then I started reading a 3rd one and I ended up DNFing it, and then I just started moving on to adult fiction and everything. First book that I read this month is The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. You've probably heard this book or maybe read it in elementary school or middle school. This is a middle grade picture book following the journey of Edward. He is a very high quality, like handmade China rabbit, and he is a doll that belongs to a little girl. He has been kind of manufactured by her grandma, and you know, he has his own suits and clothes, he has his own bed, and this little girl loves him very much. He does have his own kind of stream of consciousness, so he can think and see, and but he doesn't talk or anything because he is a toy essentially. But the grandmother of this girl is really the only person other than the little girl at the beginning of the book that speaks to him directly, and she pretty much calls and insinuates that he is selfish, he's not loving, and he doesn't love the little girl. He doesn't know what love is. He feels like he is very much above everything, and kind of just enjoys the fruits of being the toy of this child, but he doesn't really love her even though she loves him a lot. I don't want to go that deep into it because it is a shorter book, so I would be telling a lot of the story, but essentially he goes on this journey in which he meets countless people and develops a connection and pretty much learns how to love and learns what it means and learns what it means to lose love. And I give it 5 stars. I thought it was incredible. I think the lesson is there even for an adult like myself that was like really kind of like giving back to like that childhood, or like, what is it, feeding your inner child. So I loved that. Next book that I finished was Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I think I gave this 3 stars. This is about Macy and Elliot, and these two are a girl. They grew up together. Her and her dad have a weekend home where Elliot lives full time, and so every weekend, pretty much from the time I think that she's like 10 to when she graduates from high school, they see each other, and they ended up actually dating and being in a committed relationship when she was like 17 or 18. I like Christina Lauren. I like their writing. This romance wasn't for me. I kind of felt like it wasn't realistic, and what happens is that they lose touch from each other for like 10 years, and so, or she stops speaking to him, and the book is kind of digging and getting close to why she stopped speaking to him. When it all comes out, I feel like why she stopped talking to him was reasonable. I don't think that, you know, maybe it could have been handled better, but I don't think that why she decided to stop talking to him was wrong. I also thought it was pretty predictable. I also wasn't convinced of their relationship because the whole thing is that he had another life, or not the whole thing, but he had friends and, you know, kind of a life separated from her. And, you know, without spilling, you know, too much, it was like, well, of course he does. You only see him on the weekend. He still has to go to school Monday through Friday, and I don't know. I wasn't convinced that they were as close and connected mutually as what they were. So I think I gave that 3 stars. Then I read The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This was about a woman named Hannah and her husband Owen, and he one day goes missing, or a little girl comes to their boathouse in like a kind of small community oriented neighborhood that's like boathouses, and gives her a letter or something saying that her husband asked, for her to deliver that to the house, and then he's gone. He disappears. And so she kind of goes on this journey to find him and figure out what had happened with their daughter, Bailey, or his daughter, her stepdaughter, and, discovers more things about him. I gave this 4 stars because it was very riveting. I was really invested in the story and what had happened. This book also takes place in Austin, and I'm pretty sure that was the first time that I've ever read a book or a story that takes place in Austin. So it was really neat to see and hear things written in the, in a written sense. I've never read anything about landmarks and locations in Austin, so I liked that. But I still am confused by what happened and the reason why. I mean, it wasn't one of those thrillers or mysteries that was really juicy and everything. It had twist, but it wasn't very theatrical, I guess you could say, and I guess that I like that in a thriller. The reason that he left, if I can remember correctly, is very okay. So I gave that 4 stars. The writing was very good. The last 4 books that I read were all the Heartstoppers, volumes 1 through 4. I read them all in one day. I loved them all. I gave them all 5 stars. Follow the relationship of Nick and Charlie. They're 2 boys that are going to an all-boys high school, and their relationship, it's so sweet. I loved the pictures. I think that I'm really impressed by the author's ability to say so much with so few words. I just thought it was incredible. I thought it was amazing. I love the representation of some mental and eating disorders that I wasn't expecting. And yeah, I just thought they were so good. I will say my favorite one was volume 3. They take a trip to Paris, the boys' school and the girls' school, and I just the illustration, it gave so much. And they're so easy excuse me, to just read all in one day because they pretty much just go right off of the next one. So yeah, I'm really happy that I got to read those. The book that I DNF'd that kind of put me in a reading slump, I would say, is one of the books that I was reading for my childhood, teenage years. I was definitely a teenager when I read this, but it is Run the Game by Jason Myers. It's about 400 pages long. It's very easy and readable. So I got halfway through it and I just had to put it down because it was just very vulgar, I think. I mean, it was. It was very vulgar. There wasn't much going on. I mean, there was a plot. I just think that there was a lot of shock value and factor that was written that didn't add to the story. And so A Little Life, which is, I don't know if I would say it's one of my favorite books now in reflection, but I appreciated it. I appreciated the storytelling. There was a lot of shocking, horrible things that happened, but I think that it connected well, or the author was able to use that to build the characters. There was more that happened with that. With this, it was just throwing it out there and then that's it. And so even though it was readable and I was moving through it, I just was like, I can't read this. I don't know why. As a teenager, I think that maybe I didn't necessarily care that there wasn't much of a plot or that anything wasn't really supporting anything else in the book. But because as I was reading this, I'm like, man, this is, young adult. I got that in Barnes & Noble in the young adult section, which where I always went to go get books. As now as an adult, as I read it, that there's kind of a lot of plot holes and things that really don't go anywhere, or there's kind of an additive for nothing. And I think that adult readers would pick up on that. There's also lots of questionable age gaps that go on that I kind of feel like were just for shock value. I mean, everything just seemed to be played up a lot. I will say that I think that it captured a young adult. I think the main character was 19. Yeah, he was. And I think it captured the thinking thought process of the 19-year-old that would be doing what this particular 19-year-old was doing really well. So for that, I mean, sure, but I don't know who would like this right now. But yeah, that is all I read and didn't finish reading this month. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.